But have a listen to this and tell me what you think it is. Do we have it? Sounds a bit like a plane, doesn't it? Now, where do you think you might hear that sound? Probably at an airport, right? This, I kid you not, will blow your socks off. Heathrow Airport is going to blast the soundtrack of jet engines and beeping scanners throughout the summer, right, as a special project to try and help people prepare for getting on planes. I kid you not, right? Passengers flying from Heathrow this summer will be subjected to a non-stop soundtrack of roaring aircraft engines, tannoy announcements and beeping security scanners, which you can already hear because you're at Heathrow Airport.
I have so many questions about this.
Yeah.
I mean, is this not slightly surplus to requirements, do we think?
I would think so. It says
is it
it's
too
a
quiet?
4-minute loop created entirely from more than 50 sounds sampled from the airport's terminals and runways. It started playing on Tuesday of this week, and apparently it's going to run till the end of August. I mean, this is where we are in the world now.
Someone's laughing all the way to
somebody at the airport's making fake airport noises to play to people at the airport who can hear real airport noises by being at the airport.
I feel like they could put a bit more effort into making sure that, you know, the power doesn't go down, or
that might be good.
Keeping planes running on time is. Someone has pulled off an absolute masterstroke there by conning Heathrow's bosses into giving them probably Lord knows how much money.
I bet you, yeah.
Sit around.
Composed by Grammy-nominated musician and producer Jordan Rakei.
Oh, of course.
And it's called Music for Heathrow. Rather brilliantly, you know, what a fantastic title. And he says the track is intended to evoke the excitement and anticipation at the start of a summer holiday while helping to diffuse any pre-holiday jitters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But again,
do you think they'll have the guy, you know, fighting to get to the front of the Weatherspoons queue and the noise of the sort of the shouting for the third pint or something like that?
Flying across the air. But again, if it was going to serve that purpose, could you not just listen to it kind of live, i.e. the planes going over and the beeping and the whatever?
You would think. And the actual announcements, which would be all helpful. Because what if you hear an announcement that you think's a real announcement, it turns out it's not a real announcement, you go to the wrong gate, you miss your flight. This is Lee Boyle, Director of Services at Heathrow. We hope tuning in will be the perfect start to our passengers' well-deserved summer breaks. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Other sounds on the track are recordings of passenger footsteps, passports being stamped, bags hitting the luggage carousel, and dings from lifts and tannoy. Ding!
Ladies and gentlemen,
I mean, this is incredible piece of work. How much time do these people have on their hands?
Yeah.
You would think running an airport is quite expensive and busy making already. Would you really need to be sitting around thinking, you know what we need?
Yeah, this is peak sort of Britain 2025, isn't it? You know, let's just fake something in a place where you can hear the real thing. I mean, unbelievable. And just as if that's not mad enough, and I'm sorry to bombard you with these weird stories, almost £500,000 of taxpayers' money is being spent on an AI gimmick allowing the public to talk to benches and lampposts.
Right.
Maybe one for Greg Wallace when he hasn't got any more friends. I'm going to go and talk to the lamppost and tell it some dirty jokes.
Exactly. Well, at least that would take some of the pressure off everyone else in Greg Wallace's life. But I mean, first of all, this is a terrible idea because it's really not going to allow us to distinguish between who is talking to a lamppost because they've completely lost their mind and who is talking to a lamppost because they're curious as to how this AI thing's going to work, so I don't like it on that front. Is talking to lampposts really the best thing to be encouraging in society in general?
I don't think it is.
Talk to each other.
I mean, it's bad enough when you see somebody walking down the street just talking, you think to themselves, it turns out they're on a phone, but they've got headphones in, so they're talking, they look like what I used to call nutters walking down the street, just talking to themselves, right? But apparently, the Environment Agency will pay Hello Lamppost Limited £460,000 over 3 years to run the service. They basically put a QR code on street furniture, like a bus stop, or even a parking meter.
There we go.
And you can talk to it. But you can't really talk to it, can you?
It's going to be a quite one-way conversation.
It is.
I mean, it's not going to ask about how your day is.
How's it going? Terrible.
But again, kind of the talking lamppost company or whatever, fantastic work in terms of convincing someone to hand you over money to do this.
It really is mad. Let's go back to Prime Minister's questions, because there was a moment yesterday, and a couple of people pointed out to me that this is why Nigel Farage will become the next Prime Minister of this country. He was heckled in a really bad way. Have a look.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Some of you want to get in a little later. If this takes forever, you won't get in. Nigel Farage.
Thank you. The main reason this country wisely voted for Brexit back in 2016, and that included millions of Labour supporters, is because we wanted to take back control of our borders so that we and we alone could decide who comes and settles in our country. Does the Prime Minister understand that that demand today is even greater than it was back in 2016,
We can't hear you.
and that we demand,
Have you got a cold?
the country demands, that you say to the French President, will you shut up?
Don't be so disrespectful.
You say to the French President, we will not accept undocumented males across the English Channel, and that you are not dictated to by an increasingly arrogant, anti-Brexit French president.
I mean, that's just disgraceful, isn't it? There's a guy, I think he's MP for Dewsbury, I've got a feeling he might be a Lib Dem, whose voice you keep hearing saying, you were lied to, they were lied to. He just heckles him all the time. And later, Lee Anderson, who I think was the one whose voice you heard saying to him, shut up, mate, put another question to the Speaker and said, you know, can you not kind of effectively control these people a little bit more? But it shows the kind of disdain that they hold for Nigel Farage. They don't really like the fact that Reform are doing so well. They hate the fact that he's an MP, you know, and they can't treat him, you know, with any kind of respect at all.
No, absolutely. And it's also because of the voters who put him there, who that Lib Dem thinks were all lied to and hoodwinked. I mean, it's just such a recruiting sergeant for Reform, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
people just see their own representatives or the party that are leading in every poll right now being treated as if it's like this kind of virus that needs to be expelled from the House of Commons. You just think these people are... They don't realise how much they're doing to damage their own position as much as anything else.
Exactly right. I mean, I saw a clip of Humza Yousaf, the former First Minister of Scotland, the other day, warning about Reform winning an election and becoming the next government. You know, saying things like, you know, they want to get rid of net zero. You know, I'm going tick. You know, they want to deport, you know, refugees. Tick. You know, I mean, it's just, but he doesn't. He's like, this is a terrible thing that will happen to this country. And it's like, yeah, well, the reason people are voting for them is because they quite like what they're saying. You know, the reason Jake Berry's defected from the Tories, he thinks the Tories are a waste of time, as do many other people now.
No, absolutely, and it's one of those things where how long can they carry on demonising this party when it's odds on to become the largest party at the next government?
Because you're effectively demonising the people voting for them.
Exactly, and how many times are you going to suggest that this is some aberrant, strange, hard right party when it's clearly not? Otherwise, it wouldn't be appealing to that many people. So it's one of those things where I think if the other parties, particularly kind of centre-left parties, were clever, they would try and beat Reform on other terrain. But because they are just viscerally upset by them, because they're so emotionally incontinent, they can't help themselves and do stupid theatrical things like
We'll
this.
have a look at Keir Starmer's answer to that question.
Mr. Speaker, we are fixing the mess that we inherited. We are working with other countries to ensure that we take the measures necessary to stop people crossing the Channel. They are serious answers to serious problems. His proposal for 10 years, wagging the Tory dog, has been to break everything and claim that's how you fix things, to stick two fingers up at your neighbours and then expect them to work with us. And he votes against the Borders Bill, which gives more powers to our law enforcement to deal with security at our borders. And, Mr. Speaker, the reason for that is he has no interest in fixing the problem because he wants to milk it and exploit it. That's the truth about him and his party.
There we go again. You know, the trouble with Keir Starmer is that he doesn't get it either, and he hates the idea that he has to keep referring to Reform, because you can tell, because he does it so often, you know. I mean, he's constantly having a go at them.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? Because even though he tried to kind of avoid talking about migration in the kind of shame on you way that some of the people on the backbenches were doing there, he still, you just think he's not up to this. If the next election is going to be Labour versus Reform, that certainly feels like how it's shaping up. You have the populist on one side and you have the kind of project manager on the other, talking about the tiny bits of progress we might have made, and if you just think he's not up to this, he's bringing a kind of wooden spoon to a knife fight, and it's going to not end well.
It's not going to end well. I mean, I just don't think he's even going to be there in time for the next election. Let's get a voice note from Darren.
Hi, Darren from Suffolk. Great show as ever. Ready with the popcorn from 6 a.m. this morning. Now, listen, here's Starmer. How can he stand at the box and say we've created 384,000 jobs when in June 25, the latest stats come out, so there's 115,000 people more unemployed. That's 4.6%. I think it's 1.64 million. How can he say that? It's a total lie. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that is the problem. I mean, the total lies just continue to come. He just continues to keep saying the same things over and over and over again, and it is absolutely incredible. We've got lots more to do. Tony from Sussex says this: will Heathrow also start booming out the sound of an aircraft crashing with Mayday being broadcast as well, just in case the worst happens? Truly the definition of wokeness. Absolutely. And Joanna from Salisbury says, my airport sounds to add to the tensions. What happened to music? How about various recordings like Summer Holiday by Cliff Richard or Leave You on a Jet Plane, John Denver? I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to be assailed when I'm at the airport by anything, really. There's nothing worse than getting a lift and having hopelessly bad music played at you. And I certainly don't want to have ambient noises played at me, really, either. Do you?
Is that really too much to ask, you know, that you're not going to be bombarded even by music or by this weird sound design?
You know, and, you know, just the everyday sounds that happen when you walk down the street. You know, next you'll be walking down the street, a lamppost will be playing the sound of a car going past.
And people walking down
there aren't any more cars because street cars outlawed them. You just have to listen to the sound of one, you know. Unbelievable.